back to digging into the Bible. This week we're taking a look at Genesis chapter 13. So we're getting to the point where Abram and Lot, well, they have a parting of ways. So let's dig in. Verse 1. So Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the Negeb. Now Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. And he journeyed on from the Negeb as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning between Bethel and Ai, to the place where he had made an altar at the first. And there Abram called upon the name of the Lord. And Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support both of them dwelling together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. At that time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites were dwelling in the land. So that last little bit's almost like an aside. Oh, by the way, there are other people there too. But in the big picture is you have two men, relatives, who are growing in their wealth. They've got livestock. They have people that work for them, all sorts of possessions. And as their people work the land, they discover, or actually, deal with their livestock and so forth. They're starting to realize, we're bumping into each other. There's not really enough land here to support the both of us if we stay together. In fact, there's starts to be conflict between those that are keeping track of the herds for Abram and the herds from Lot. So something needs to give. Something's going to have to give. So continuing then, verse 8, then Abram said to Lot, so the elder says to the younger, Uncle Abram says to nephew Lot, okay, let's solve this. Let there be no strife between you and me, and between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself from me. If you take the left hand, I will go to the right. If you take the right hand, I will go to the left. So Abram is offering a solution, saying, look, we can't do this. We can't end up fighting amongst ourselves here. This is not good. We're relatives. We're kinsmen. This should not be. So he defers. He gives the choice to Lot to make his decision on what he would like to do, which part of the land that's presented before them, which part do you want? So we can separate ourselves. We're still nearby, but we want to get along. So let's clearly demarcate who goes where, and I'll even let you take your pick. And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw that the Jordan Valley was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, in the direction of Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, this is the most interesting thing, tucked right into the middle of this story. This is a beautiful land. It's great. It's lush. It's green. Oh, but wait, that was before God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Wonder how that's going to figure into things. Well, we'll see soon. So Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley, and Lot journeyed east. Thus they separated from each other. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled among the cities of the valley and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord. Again, start to prefigure things. We start to see a little sign of things to come. The Lord mentions, hey, so Lot is gonna end up near Sodom. That's as close as his tents get to the city. And oh, by the way, the men of Sodom were wicked. Perhaps there's going to be a negative influence to come, but we shall see. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had separated from him, lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward, for all the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if one can count the dust of the earth, your offspring shall also be counted. Arise, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I will give it to you. So Abram moved his tent and came and settled by the oaks of Mamre, which are at Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord. So God reinforces that promise that Here, again, the closest relative he has is Lot. Well, that's a nephew. He doesn't have a son yet, doesn't have a child. He has no heir. He has great wealth. He has something to pass along to an heir, but he has no heir. And God walks him around the land and says, take a look to the north, to the east, to the south, to the west. All of this I will give to your descendants. You know, the descendants you don't have yet. And oh, by the way, the descendants that you have will be so numerous that if someone were actually able to count the dust, they'd be just as numerous. What an image that gives. What a picture of God's promise and how vast a promise that is. Well, this gives you a little bit of a taste of what's to come. There's been some foreshadowing showing up in here with references to Sodom, references to the destruction that's coming, but we haven't hit that yet. We haven't got there. So we're going to pause here, the end of chapter 13, and come back next week with chapter 14. God bless.